Welcome to Pitch the Professor, the sports betting show hosted by a former statistics professor. This is your host, Professor Sides. With me for college basketball, Wednesday, November 19th. Jake, nice to have you back. If viewers are not aware, you've got your own college basketball show as well. So if people miss you and your college basketball insights, make sure, of course, to check out Bench Points. A little less sports betting, a little more college basketball. Is that kind of the right vibe I'm sending out?
Yeah, very much light on the sports betting. More just me and a couple buddies take some basketball. Sometimes we're really good, like we call Louisville out way early in the summer about handling Kentucky, and then sometimes we're really bad, like when I thought Oklahoma was going to be a good team this year. Yeah, take the good with the bad.
You know, and I think, and I was on that episode. We talked a little bit about Oklahoma, and I made the comment with the SEC that there were 14 of the 16 teams were within like a touchdown of each other, and one of those was like, by the end of the year, 2 or 3 of those teams are going to fall at the back, 2 or 3 are going to be at the front. But at this point, who knows what it was? So it's kind of a big crapshoot there with that. We're excited to have you back on here with us for some picks, some quick reminders before we get going. The name of the model that I've built to help guide us, these projection models are called Sideline. They are player-based. Player on the grades applies more points, so offenses want to be higher, defenses want to be lower. Predictive and forward-facing, so injuries. Again, if you've done well, but we think it's been fluky, or you've done poorly, but we think it's been fluky for those reasons, right? That is reflected, again, as the best predictive metrics that we have at this point. The pit grades are based on the probabilistic edge post-time. A, B, and C's love, like, and lean. Again, there's picks on every single game, and then a subset of those that are recommended over there on Patreon. You can join us over there with the link in the show description. If you are already over there helping us keep the lights on here, we really appreciate your support. But again, we emphasize value things in the long run. We're only giving out a few picks here. We can't predict one game. We can't predict 4 games, 5 games. Nobody can predict anything because none of us can see the future, unfortunately. Although I guess I would kind of take the fun out of life a little bit. So, we talk about is, 55%, 60%, right? There are no guarantees. There are no locks, right? And that emphasis shines through in what we do over our betting strategy that you can join us with over on Patreon and our Discord chat. Again, really just a place to be, covering every single sport, discussion, insights, and again, just being part of a community of people who are trying to learn how to bet the right way, the smart way, and not chasing losses, not that you can't do a fun parlay here and there, but that's not, we're not just trying to hit lottery tickets here. We're trying to figure out how do we grind out a profit, because that's the real way to do it. Otherwise, you're just going to be giving up all your money, and that's not what we want to do. I don't know about you viewers. So again, join us over there on Patreon, especially in that Discord chat. We have a lot of fun. And we'll have a discussion about that here actually coming up shortly. But we're going to start off with our spotlight game, Alabama against Illinois. This one will be at the, is it still called the United Center, wherever the Bulls are playing at in Chicago?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah,
okay.
It's still the United Center.
All right, yeah. So half home court advantage for Illinois. It'll be more Illinois fans there. Shorter travel, of course. Not a full home court advantage. Not a true neutral site game either. It'll kind of be like on that opening night when we talked about Arizona, Florida, where Arizona kind of had a little bit of a home court edge there in Las Vegas. They're used to playing there. Short travel, more fans. Long travel for either team, not quite. A little bit of a boost. Not a ton. Instead of going to the side, though, we're going to go to the total here. A grade under 181, Jake. There are bettors out there who, just out of principle, see a number like 181 and are just going to bet the under. And I respect that. I'm not saying you should do that in every game, but my goodness, this number is crazy. Alabama and Illinois both better on offense and defense, and especially with Alabama's pace. Not that Illinois plays slow either. This game should have a lot of points. The model just thinks it's a little bit inflated, a little bit too many points, as we think it should be more in the mid 170s on average. Jake, obviously overtime is a possibility. I don't know what percent of games of overtime, games get overtime. I know that's out there, however many few percent, single digit percent. You take that away. My thought on this is you just need like one 5-minute stretch of good defense And it's going to be hard to get to this number. That's all we're asking for, Jake, is can we get 1 5 minute stretch of slowing it down and good defense? Jake, what do you like about this one?
Look, I think the number is way too high. I was at the Purdue Alabama game, and Alabama is struggling to rebound the ball. And really, Nate Oates' system is really predicated on a lot of layups and then countered with threes. They fell in love with the three. I mean, they shot 44 in that Purdue game. They made a good percentage, but because they weren't getting to the bucket and they weren't forcing the turnovers, this game is not, this Alabama team is not yet found how the trick to forcing all the turnovers to get that pace really moving. We're gonna benefit from an inflated total. I mean, you've got Illinois is playing out of their mind offensively and counterintuitive to what you would have thought. You would have thought this would have been similar to Alabama with a trillion threes. Uh, Illinois get it done from the inside, shooting above 60% from there. Not that they're shooting bad from three, they just haven't needed to. And their defense is more akin to a Virginia-esque pack line style. Obviously, the pace isn't, but where they're going to make you take hard shots rather than force turnovers. And I think that is one that's what Purdue did too. That slows that Alabama team down, because if you're not forcing turnovers and like running and getting an easy layup, and then they can turn right around and come back and hit a three before you've set your defense again, it kind of takes a little bit of the pace off it. And I don't think you need a 5 minute stretch in this game. I think you get 2 minute stretch in this game with some decent defense or some missed threes, and we're going to be under like asking both these teams to put up 90 again. That are, yes, the defense is for both teams is the worst team on the floor. That doesn't mean it's bad defense. These are two very, very good defenses that do it in different styles. And I think we see a score closer to that Purdue Alabama game where where both teams in the high mid to high 80s, and it's a back and forth, fun and incredible game to watch. But I don't think we're getting anywhere close to 180.
It's interesting to me, 90-89 would go under and feel just insanely high scoring. And that could happen. Jake, what I want to say, last thing I want to say about this is, anytime you have a total this high, this game could get to 200. It could happen. I don't expect it to, but it could. Just as equally, this game could land, 160. It could land, 81-79. Wouldn't be crazy. And I just want to remind people that, appropriate comments and appropriate thought processes are not, this game is a lot to go over. This game's going to get to 200. That we don't want to use the gunnas, right? After the game, appropriate comments, not, if this game gets to 200, that doesn't make this a terrible pick. And if the game goes to 160, it doesn't make it a terrible pick. What we're trying to be graded on is the totality of, again, are we able to win more when we win than we lose when we lose? Which has nothing to do with an N of one. So just as a reminder on this, obviously, big game, everyone be watching this game, should be a lot of fun. But, it's not about if the game lands 160 or 200. It's about, in general, when we say, hey, these totals are a little bit overinflated, are we more right than we're wrong? And unfortunately, that's the thinnest of margins. We're happy at 54%, which isn't going to be able to be judged, of course, off one game. So obviously we are excited with the wins, but if this game goes over this or goes overtime, which is the one asterisk that I feel like would really hurt us here, it is what it is. What we're saying is, again, on average in the long run, we think they play this game 10 times and more, maybe 6 of those times, this game stays in the 160s, 170s rather than getting into the 180s. And so, yeah, we'll just kind of root for that few minute stretch of defense in order to keep us under and hopefully put some cash in your pockets here. A quick reminder of all the benefits you can get over on Patreon include just a bunch of information. At some point, I need to throw the chart in here so people can see the chart form of this. We got the charts, we got the data, we got all sorts of great insights for you to dive deeper and to try to utilize this information however you see fit, which doesn't necessarily mean you have to agree with every play. Sometimes you could look at the play, you could see this information. Oh, I see why it likes it. It likes it because it's the blah, 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 and I don't agree with it. That's good too. That's great information to have because especially with sports betting, like anything, right? Information is power. So we're not going to cover the other big game. There's 2 big games in the night. Alabama, Illinois is the first one. The other one is Arizona traveling all the way across the country at Yukon. Model doesn't have a great insight for us. And this is a system that we try to anchor off of, again, a predictive probabilistic model. And so no official pick for us on this. But mentioning over to the Discord there, we do have a college basketball expert over there as well. And so, Jake, our college basketball expert over, she, as an Arizona Wildcats alum and fan, is more leaning Yukon. The model might lean a little bit more Arizona. You're leaning more Arizona. So a little bit of a disagreement there, which is, again, totally fine. If you're with us over on Patreon, great way to hop over on that Discord, get her thoughts on that. Why is she thinking that, Jake? I'll let you give your thoughts here just a second on what your angle is on the game. But I also wanted to point out this is one where the number really matters, because she was looking at UConn minus more like 4.5. We're seeing some 5.5s. And Jake, you were thinking more Arizona 5.5. I know she was thinking if it gets out to 6.5. So at some point, there is a point where you play Arizona, of course. And so the number, of course, matters, but we'll say the market's around 5 at this point. I think the model's right around 5 as well. So let's just pretend it's 5. You're leaning Arizona, is that correct? And if so, why?
That BYU game, the second half of that BYU game really showed some stuff to me for UConn. Solo ball has been absent this year. He has not been great. And if his jump shot's not going, he's not producing a lot. And I think that's a big miss. There's also absolutely nothing off the bench. That team is thin. So, Braylon Mullins coming back changes everything. So whenever he comes back, this team is absolutely fantastic team. But Arizona, they went to UCLA, or I think that was at UCLA.
Inglewood.
And won with
close.
Yeah. They won with like foul trouble with Coapete and nothing really from your starters except for Bradley, and then Delioso comes off the bench. Terrence Reed was able to have a big game for UConn, and especially, it's hard to tell. Kebakita goes out in the first 8 minutes of the game, so you don't know what that battle looks like if he plays a full game. I don't know that there's enough offensive options in a tight game to cover 6 points, 5 to 6 points here for UConn, because Arizona has the options. They've got Delioso off the bench. They got Jaden Bradley, who's not getting enough love out there. Coapete. Burries could show up at any point. Toby Awaka. They've got all sorts of meat down low to make Reed's life hard. So if UConn's not shooting well or has a poor shooting night or starts turning the ball over again, this is one that would scare me to bet UConn. I'm much more leaning Arizona's way.
It should be a great game. And I say we'll find out a lot about both teams. Every game's a data point to find out something. Even against bad teams, it's a data point to find out something. It might be harder to find it. I have to look a little harder, but it will be interesting. Arizona, 2 neutral-ish site games. One a little bit more their way, one definitely not their way. But this one, a true road test, right? Going on the road stuff. Traveling this across the country like this is tough, but they better get used to it. Of course, this is life in the Big 12 because they've got a couple of partners out west. West Virginia, UCF, even Cincinnati, right? They got some tough road trips coming up. And so a lot to unpack there on an Arizona team that pretty strong, but a tough spot for them. But again, the spread being the great equalizer, maybe they're getting enough points to make it worth a lot of ways that you can look at it. Of course, again, the benefit of a player-based model, right? Sideline knows about that UConn injury, right? And of course, we'll adjust right when he gets back in there. We'll bump them up to be a little bit of a stronger team as well. So more reasons to be able to access the model's predictions on every single game over there on Patreon. We're going to give you the grade A side of the day. We're going to give you an A grade total here shortly. So kind of rather than 2 A-plus plays, we'll give you one side, one total. Here's the side, the best A side of the day, 7 p.m. Eastern, North Florida at Wofford. We're going to lay the 7.5 with Wofford. So this is a win by an average of 10. North Florida on offense versus Wofford on defense should be a fairly even battle. Wofford at home on offense against this North Florida defense. Big mismatch according to Sideline. And what I love about this is North Florida wants to play with pace. Should give us plenty of possessions to cover this number. It shouldn't be that we're hurting for possession. It shouldn't be one of those games where if we're only up 2 with 8 minutes to go, you start looking at the clock going, how many more possessions are you going to have to cover a number like this, right? Should be a lot of possessions for North Florida, especially if they're down. They're going to want to keep playing fast. So Wofford, of course, are going to want to slow it down. Hopefully they'll slow it down once they're already at double digits for us. Jake, what's your take on this one?
Yeah, North Florida can't stop anybody. I love the coach of North Florida. I think he's a great coach. He lost all 5 starters. This guy has been feeding the upper programs for a while. Bobby Crittenden is like, I mean, that's where Chaz Lanier came from. You got Liam Murphy that's playing at Purdue this year. I mean, they've got guys everywhere. He's a great farm system and he knows it. And this year he's got a lot more development to do before they start getting picked off. Plays the same face, good coach, but man, there's no defense. The offense doesn't help. They turn the ball over like crazy. They let you have at least 7 shots to make your first bucket before they decide they want the ball. They good news is they guard the 3-point arc a lot well because they're giving up 70% inside the arc. So there's I don't know how many people are shooting out there on them. But
I say if
I
you're
mean,
able to
say
get
all
good
this, I
enough
have
looks
lot
like
of
that,
respect
I
for the
wouldn't
team.
be shooting threes.
Yeah, I mean, Wofford is a good team. They're coached by a good coach too. They play a little bit slower, and they're at home. They're the better team. They're going to drive the pace, and then what's going to happen is Wofford is going to want to play faster because they're not disciplined, and they're going to more turnovers, and it's going to be more buckets. Wofford's get 2 losses this year: George Mason and Auburn, who are very very good teams. Let's just throw that one out. Putting up 46 points. That was not. Let's just throw that out. But the rest of the time, they're doing fairly well. They put up 62 against Auburn, who just went toe to toe with Houston, and then 86 and 94 against teams that are better than North Florida. So I don't think we're going to have trouble for Wofford on offense. I think it's going to be fairly easy to cover this game. I just think North Florida doesn't have much going for it this year.
All right, there's your A side of the day, your grade A total of the day, South Florida, Oklahoma State. Folks, we probably play more overs than unders, but we got 2 unders for you here. Under another big number, 179 as an A grade. Folks, that first under, the model recognizes that, and we've talked about this a lot, that the top teams are better at offense than they are at defense, just with regards to uh historically to college basketball, right? The extra, years of eligibility, NIL, players staying in college longer, the evolution of the game, more efficient, right? The offenses have gotten better than the defenses, right? That's been a trend over the last several years. And that's held true, especially at the higher tier levels, like those first 2 teams. So that was, I mean, obviously Alabama wants to play fast, but less about pace and more about those offenses are just so dang efficient. This one, not about the offenses being that efficient. This is all about pace. You've got 2 top 10 teams. So this is going to be a pants on fire kind of game. So if you like up and down basketball, this should be it. The question is, Oklahoma State, is their offense good enough to score in that pace? South Florida's defense isn't very good, but Oklahoma State's defense is good enough to maybe prevent South Florida from scoring. So there's a couple different ways you could look at this. 2 very solid teams, but something just says this is overinflated, that yes, the pace is going to be there, but this should be coming in more like 170 rather than 180. Jake, tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, South Florida, their coach Brian Hodgson, I love him. I think he's a fantastic coach. He's out of the Nate Oates tree, so you know exactly how he's going to want to play. It really hurts that Ahmad Rajad is not coaching the South Florida team. That was just a tragic accident. This team could have been one of those teams that is up there in the getting close to the top 25, and he tragically passed away. His players are still there. The talent's still there. South Florida is a very, very good team. I think they're a little bit underrated. I'm not as big a fan of Oklahoma State. I think they lack a lot, especially from the 3-point arc. They're shooting under 30% as a team. To get over these bigger numbers, you've got to have some threes. And you've got to have pace. This is one of the ones that I think the 3 ball is absolutely going to kill the over. Oklahoma State isn't going to be able to hit it at a pace at a rate that they need to win this game, or not win this game, to go push this game over. South Florida is going to give them every chance they can. So this one's going to be a little bit of a nerve wracking ride, but I think we're going to feel pretty safe in the last 3 minutes or so of the game with where the score will be at, because I just don't think either team is that great of shooting, and especially Oklahoma State is really rough from the outside so far this year.
What I'll say here, last thing about these 2 unders in very high total games, is it, reminds me a lot of, because Jerry and I talk a lot about, the old school Big 12 football. And there was a stretch back in the day where there were several teams in that conference that when they played each other, it was just blind over. It didn't matter the number. And there were bettors out there who would just, like, and I'm not saying bettors like, Jake, you and me betting, piddly amounts of money. I mean, like, people putting real amounts of money, who were constantly back in those days just going under these big numbers and just constantly losing. Not every game, of course, but losing, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Some of these teams, between Tech and Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Baylor. and it was a fun run. And then the defenses got just good enough to end that run, where then it became, the rules changed, right? Then the clock doesn't stop after first downs now. There's fewer plays and there's less hurry up and all those little things, started, teams are now trying to be more efficient, right? So everything just changed a little bit. But when we exited that era, it became, or when you get these really high point totals, it wasn't to say you shouldn't go over on them. It was just, you had to kind of be cautious because we were in an era with college football where when you get a number up there in the 70s like that, everything has to go right. And there's only a handful of teams that play to a style where that's really something you can bank on. Otherwise, if you have one stretch of football, something's going wrong and it just makes it really difficult to get there. And when I look at these big numbers in college basketball, that's where I think we are now, where if we're seeing totals in the 180s, not to say it can't go over. It's just everything's got to go right for mostly the whole 40 minutes or you got to get overtime. One 5 minute stretch, one TV timeout to TV timeout where, it slows down, you just a couple bricks, back and forth and sloppy, nothing happening. And it's just going to make it really difficult. Jake, you and I sometimes follow a live total in a game that we might have action on, or we just kind of see how we're tracking. And some of these high totals like this, you could see it'll start off right around the number, right around the number, right around the number. And then all of a sudden you have one stretch and it'll drop 20 points on that projected total. And again, not to say these will go over. It's just I'd rather be on the under on some of these higher numbers because you're just saying, hey, I don't have to have a perfect game. I just got to have that one stretch, and we're feeling like we got a great chance. And when I look at these two teams specifically, like I said, Oklahoma State leaving a little bit to be desired offensively, South Florida having to do it on the road. There's the recipe. The ingredients are here for these two teams to have a little bit of a struggle fest just for a stretch, and then all the pace in the world is still going to make it really tough to get up into the 180s. Such a tall task. With that
Yeah,
said, we will
it
move.
is tough, especially like when you're talking about these big totals. It's kind of like akin to running. When you slow down just a little bit, it is so hard to get back to that pace. And then you not only do you have to get to that pace, you've got to get over it to make up for where you slowed down. It is incredibly tough. So just two or three possessions in a row that come off the pace that go to the shot clock, or the ball gets tipped around out of bounds a couple times, it can absolutely kill a total when you're trying to go over a big
Absolutely.
number.
Our best B side of the night, we'll wrap up with this one, 8 p.m. Eastern, UMass Lowell at Bradley. Bradley laying 19.5 B grade. Something says Bradley wins by an average of 22. There was a couple years ago where UMass Lowell was a little bit of a darling for us. We really liked them, and they were a pretty strong team. Not so much now as they're approaching the bottom 10 in college basketball. Bradley approaching the top 100 off of a really strong defense. Really strong defense, playing slow. That's going to be my concern about this one. I think it's kind of why it's a B grade a little bit is Bradley's more, stronger on defense, and they're not really wanting to play fast, and you need possessions in order to win by a number this big. But Jake, we're going to lay the 19.5 just because UMass Lowell is so bad that we may not need that many possessions to get to it out to a number like this because of how bad UMass Lowell can be. Bradley, again, a really strong team. Jake, what is your take for this one?
Like this is a team that at home lost to New Haven, who is brand new to Division One, and not just lost to them by 6 points. So it wasn't that close of a game. The UMass Lowell, they're going to be arguably one of the worst teams all year. Nothing goes right for them right now, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. They've got one of the worst defenses in college basketball, if not the worst. And they try to play fast, which is obviously going to kill her because they turn the ball over too much. They take bad shots. They give up good shots because they're taking way too many threes. For as bad as shooters they are, they're taking way too many threes. Long rebounds. If you don't finish the possession, it's an easy bucket on the other end. And also, a lot of their pace is driven because I would like to see what sideline says of this. Because in my research, the pace is driven with how bad their defense is. If you look at how long their possession length is, they actually try to slow it down a little bit, but the pace gets going so fast in the game because they can't get in front of anybody. I mean, they're giving up 60% from inside the arc, 40 plus from 3-point. They don't take the ball from you, and they don't rebound, so you've got unlimited tries to score. And I think Bradley will absolutely handle this. Bradley is a solid team. They're nothing flashy. They play at a medium pace. They have a very, very good defense for a mid-major team. I think they're going to be look at the record. They've played a very tough schedule. I think they are going to be deadly when it gets to the Missouri Valley. UT Martin, St. Bonaventure, and San Francisco are three very good teams. I think one, the rebounding percentage will go way up for Bradley because UMass, somebody's got to get the rebound, and UMass doesn't want it. And if some threes start falling, this could easily be a 30-point game.
You could be right on that pace thing. We talk about a lot how, turnovers can increase your pace because it's like quick baskets, the other way. But if you're not getting any rebounds, especially defensive rebounds, that's going to really skew your pace metrics because you're giving, like I said, you're giving the other team another chance right away. And usually that offensive rebound from pretty close range. I mean, sometimes contested, but sometimes they're easy putbacks. And so that again, things that are going to help us get that extra possession we need potentially, because it wouldn't come in the form of more possessions back and forth. It just come from a freebie possession offensive rebound if UMass Lowell isn't rebounding. So they've really struggled this year, and we're going to bank on that continuing. That's what I've got for you here. Again, way more to offer over on Patreon. Check that out. Again, link in the show description. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Jake, parting words to take us out before we head into Wednesday's college basketball slate.
Yeah, for these picks that go wrong, come over to Bench Points and tell me how bad I am at it. I'm on fire. I gave out Kentucky over there, and that went really well tonight. And so, just come let me know about it. Come let me know how bad at this I am.
I have no words to that. Thanks everyone again for watching. Again, we want to remind everyone to have responsible betting habits, responsible betting mindsets. Again, that starts with our language and remembering that a lot of picks are going to lose no matter what. A lot of picks are going to win, right? And that's our goal here, is just to win more. When we win, then we lose when we lose. But no matter what, folks, however it plays out, good or bad, while you can eat your betting money, please don't bet your eating money.